Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Apero. I'm a member of Team Aretusa, and today I'm going to be talking about tutoring and thinning. Why are they important and why are they important in GWENT? This is a skill that is so often underestimated by new players who see tutoring cards and often think, ugh, why is there so many provisions? This seems worthless to me. What's the deal? I'm going to explain it all. Don't worry, hold tight. Here we go. So let's start by talking about what tutoring is. Now, the classic tutor card in GWENT is Royal Decree. When you play this special card, you can play a unit from your deck. So you play Royal Decree, and then you can select which card in your deck, I should be more specific, which unit in your deck you want to play. Now, this is 10 provisions. Why would a card that gives you 0 tempo, i.e. 0 points on the board, be worth 10 provisions? Okay, because it tutors a card. In other words, it draws out a card from your deck. Now, some tutor cards are a little bit more specific. Call of the Forest, for example, allows you to play a Scoia'tael unit from your deck and boost it by 1. It's also worth 10 provisions, however, you're limited to Scoia'tael units, but you boost it by 1. So there are other tutor cards that have more specific ideas behind them. And there is one more I want to draw your attention to. Furco the Sculptor is a unit, so not all tutor cards have to be special cards. Furco allows you to play a crime from your deck. So as long as you play him on the melee row, then you can select any crime card in your deck and play it. So Furco is another example of a tutor card. Now, these are just 3 examples. There are plenty more, but these are some of the key ones that will give you an idea of how different tutor cards can look. So we have Royal Decree, which plays any unit. You have Call of the Forest, which plays a Scoia'tael unit, boosts it by 1. Or you have Furco, which himself is a unit, but he allows you to play a special card, i.e. a crime, from your deck. So you can see how they take on different shapes, they take on different forms, they have different requirements, but the basic core of it is that they allow you to draw something out of your deck. And this brings us to the topic of thinning. There's an old saying in the card game world, which is that thinning is winning. And in GWENT, this is especially applicable. Thinning basically means that you are pulling cards out of your deck in order to manipulate what cards are left, normally in preparation for round 2 or round 3. A great example of a thinning card is Roach. Now, Roach is a staple of GWENT and always will be. And so let's read her card description. Whenever you play a gold card, summon this unit from your deck to a random allied row. So as long as Roach is in your deck, if you play a gold card, she'll pop out onto the board for 3 points. Now, normally we look for more or less a 1-to-1 point to provision ratio. But here we see that Roach is worth 10 provisions, but only 3 points. So where's the discrepancy? Why is there 7 points essentially missing? Well, the reason is because of the value of thinning. If you have Roach in your deck and she pops out, you now have 1 less brick, that is a useless card, to draw into for round 2 or round 3. And it means that the cards left over in your deck are all higher value. So the idea here is to start pulling cards out of your deck in round 1 or round 2 in order to have the best possible hand going into your later rounds. That is the whole point of thinning, and there are plenty of cards that help us. Let's have a look at 1 or 2 more just to kind of help you understand what they do. Knickers is another classic example of a thinning card. Now, in, for example, an Ursine Ritual / Lippy deck, you can put Roach and Knickers into your deck, and both will pop out at some point, separately, presumably, and aid you in battle. And part of the help that we have here, so again we see here 9 provisions, 3 points. Part of the help that these cards give us is that we are distilling, we are distilling our deck into the core units, into the core value that we are looking for. Now, when you have a deck that relies on a certain strategy, relies on certain cards to be pulled, This is especially important. Now, I think this Lippy deck is a great example of tutoring and thinning and how it can work and why it is so valuable. The whole point of this deck is to play Ceres early, then later on you play Lippy and you get all the value from the Roach and Knickers coming out again, plus you get an extra Shield Maiden because of the first proc that happens in round 1 or round 2. So as a result, this deck not only has 2 tutoring cards in Royal Decree and Madahuri, but also has 2 thinning cards in Roach and Knickers. So what you will see is that this card starts thinning down to very, very few cards by round 3, but the reason for that is because you need to guarantee access to Lippy for the entire strategy to work. So for decks like this, where there are specific strategies that you need or specific cards you need to get to, the importance of tutoring and thinning cannot be underestimated. There are some decks that are not quite as dependent on certain strategies or certain cards. For example, this is a kind of, at the moment in the current meta, a classic Uprising mid-range deck. It's a Singleton deck. That means that we only play one of each card, and therefore we can play Radea. So we can see in this entire list, the only thinning/tutoring card we have is Royal Decree. That's to help us if we get stuck in a certain situation and we need a certain card to get us out, then Royal Decree kind of helps us do that. But you can see, generally speaking, there isn't a lot of thinning, there isn't a lot of tutoring going on here, and that's because the goal of this deck is to have a lot more solid value in each card. It is important to note that although tutoring out cards can be a way of thinning your deck, the two are not always linked and they're not always used in combination. Sometimes you want to tutor out cards later in the game, and that can be completely independent of the goal of thinning. Sometimes you use tutor cards in order to thin, but more often tutoring is about accessing your high value cards, and thinning is about increasing the chance of drawing into your high value cards. Well, that's it. That's the basics of thinning and tutoring. I hope that this helps you understand the two better. Just to recap, tutoring is the ability to draw out specific cards in your deck. Thinning is the act of removing cards in order to distill what's remaining in your deck to be the best possible result for whatever your strategy is. Obviously, there are some decks where thinning and tutoring is more useful than in others, especially when you're relying on certain cards or on certain combos to execute your strategy. However, personally, I love thinning. I think it's really worthwhile, and it is one of the things that beginners underestimate the most. It cannot be underestimated how important thinning and tutoring is. Tutoring in particular can help you get specific cards that you need or want in a cinch or in a snap, and thinning helps you to create that raw power that you might need in order to really grab round 3. So there are plenty of reasons to look into tutoring and thinning. Do not be afraid of them. Do not underestimate them. Do not be scared of those provision values. Trust me, it is worthwhile. If you have a great deck otherwise, then these cards will really help you get to the core of your deck and execute your strategy successfully. Thank you for watching. Please hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.